When setting up your sessions, you may have specific items that you'll want your students to upload for you to review. Within Steps, we have just the tool for you to use. Using our Session Required Documents activity will allow you to customize your list and will then allow your students to upload any necessary files. To set this up, you'll have three main tasks. First, you'll want to add the activity. Once that's done, you'll want to add in all of the required documents your students will upload. And the last item, which is optional, you can provide templates or guidelines for your students to review. To get started, you'll head on over to Placements by Session. You'll then select Session Setup for your desired session. Once here, on your to-do list, you'll go ahead and select Session Activities. The first step is to add the activity. From the Form Name dropdown, you'll go ahead and select Session Required Document. This is the form name that our team has given this activity, but you can easily rename that by using the form label option here. If you plan on having your students upload one specific item, for example, Weekly Reflections, you can rename this form label to Weekly Reflections. However, if you plan on having your students upload a wide range of items such as Weekly Reflections, check-ins, presentations, or anything of that nature, you'll want to make your form label a little more generic. If your assignments will have different due dates, go ahead and leave this blank. You'll have a place to add in those specific dates in a different section. You can provide a reference document for your students to review. This particular feature only allows you to add in one reference document. If you have multiple reference documents you'd like to provide to your students, you'll have a place to add those elsewhere. If you do provide a reference document, you'll give your document a name here. You can then provide general instructions for your students regarding this particular activity, and any document comments if you provided a reference document. Once you have added all the necessary information, go ahead and save and close. After adding the session activity, your students will be able to see that item on their to-do list. Here you can see the form label that we have added in for our specific activity. We can see here a few icons, instructions if you provided any, a general due date if one was added, and one reference document for your students to access. Let's go ahead and add in those specific required documents. Go ahead and select Session Information to head on back to the previous page. And on the to-do list, you'll then go ahead and select Session Required Document. You'll notice you have two action buttons on this page. You have Add Document and Add New Group. When adding assignments for your students to upload, you can bundle them within specific categories called groups. You can easily add a group by clicking on Add New Group or while adding a document as well. Let's go ahead and add in our first group. You'll give your group a name and make sure your group is set to be active. You'll then save and close. Once your group is created, if you realize you made a typo or would like to make changes to the group name, you can always edit that further here. Now you'll want to add in that specific item that you'll want your students to upload. Go ahead and select Add Document, and you'll give your required document a name. You can provide any notes for your students to review. You'll then select the group you'd like for this item to be displayed on. And you can then enter a due date and time, although this is not mandatory. If you would like to leave this blank, go ahead and select the text here and simply delete. When adding a due date and time, you'll go ahead and click on the calendar option and find your desired date. Once you found your date, you'll go ahead and pick that number, and you'll then be provided with time frames. Make sure to select down to the minute. You'll also want to make sure that this required document is assigned to the correct sequences that you have added for your particular session. Once done, go ahead and click Save and Close. If you need to make further edits to your required document assignment, you can always click on the pencil icon. To delete, simply click on the red X here. Let's go ahead and add a document for a different group. We're going to go ahead and click on Add Document, and we'll give our required document a name, add any notes if needed, and when selecting the group for it to display on, if you have not yet added your group, you'll simply click on Create New Group. You'll then give your group a name and select your due date and time. Once done, you'll go ahead and save and close. You will now see two groups, each with their items listed beneath them. If you add multiple required documents for a particular group, you can always rearrange them by using the arrows next to the numbers. If you rearrange them, make sure to save the rank. Back on the student side, once the student selects that item on their to-do list, they will now see each group reflected by a different tab and any assignments that you have added within that tab. If you have provided a due date, that will show up below the document name. They will see any notes you have provided, and they can then upload their file here. If you have created different groups within this section, you may want to provide multiple templates, guides, or references for your students to review. This can easily be added. We're going to head on back to the session information section, and this is going to be within Session Setup. On the to-do list, you'll go ahead and select Session Reference Document. Within this section, you can add in any files that you'd like your students to have access during this particular placement. To add something, simply click on Add Document. You'll provide a reference document a name, a description if needed. You'll then upload your file and select where your document should be displayed on. For this option, you'll want to make sure to select My Placements. You'll then be asked to select the sequences in which this document should be displayed on. Make sure to select all relevant sequences. You'll then save and close. And back on the student side, they will now be able to see a separate section called Session Reference Documents, where any guidelines or any documents you have provided will be listed.